Now this is something quite interesting. This is going to be a build that I started what would be probably a good 10 odd years ago, before I properly got into making props, because it's something I started doing and never actually continued because I wasn't entirely sure on how to do it. And funnily enough, it perfectly falls into what we're building at the moment, which is the Republic Commando armor. So what this is the blaster pistol. I think it's a DC 15S, I think is the correct number for that. I'm not entirely sure. It's so hard to remember all these numbers. But I originally wanted to make one of these when I was younger. And I had this, which is an old toy pistol. You can find guns like this with a similar style, because this is actually like a knockoff, smaller version of Robocop's pistol that I just found in a toy store under, you know, Alien Gun, kind of those cheap knockoff sort of brands. And if you actually look for Robocop toy gun, you can find one similar to this, and it kind of has a slightly similar aesthetic to the blaster pistol. And I thought, oh, this will be an easy way to sort of make a cheap, not screen accurate, but kind of close-ish version of the blaster pistol, because I knew I really wanted to make Commando armor. It just took a good 10 years to get around to doing it. So as you can see, I already started. I cut bits out. I've taken out the top chunk here. I've taken out the trigger guard, the hammer on the back, as well as what would have been an orange tip on the front of this, to convert it into a proper pistol. So this is probably going to be smaller and slimmer than what it is in the game. But you know what? It's actually going to be fun to finish something that has been unfinished, and I've just managed to find it in my cupboard. It's been sitting there for years. I already taken it apart. It had a circuit board in here that made, you know, those the standard ones you get in like toy rockets and things, where it just has the weird taking off and laser sound effects that do not fit in with this one at all. And the hot glue that I used to glue that bit of plastic in has gone yellow. That's how old that this is. So yeah, I'm actually gonna have a little bit of fun today and actually put the body of this together and make the pistol. As I said, it's not going to be screen accurate. I'm mainly just going to be using the shapes we've already got on this and just adding some little bits. It's just going to be sort of close-ish to the original gun from the game. So obviously first thing that I was working on was filling in all these gaps, ready to add filler on this later. So that's actually what I'm gonna continue to do, because you've got a couple of gaps in the back here and one where the trigger was. So now for some of that I'm just going to use hot glue to fill it in, and for the other one I'm actually going to put some plastic behind it so it's got something for the filler to go on to. But I can't glue the body shut yet because I need to get this circular bit in here, in where I've cut out this part. And I'm actually going to use a part of an old lightsaber that I took apart for a build that didn't quite work, so you guys haven't seen it, but this is the old extendable one. So I'm just going to cut it apart and use this bit of the lightsaber blade to go in here. Obviously you don't have to take apart a lightsaber for that. You can just find a bit of PVC pipe that is going to be the right shape and size for this. So I just need to mark where I want to cut that down. So whilst the super glue is drying, I'm actually going to work on doing some of the other details on the blaster pistol, just like around the bottom and around the trigger guard. And I've got a lot of this stuff which is spare ABS. Now you normally get these in strips when working on armor kits, so I've got a lot of this in my cupboard. But for other prop builds, what I normally use is a polypropylene plastic, which is this stuff you would have seen before on some of my other videos. I used it to fill in the lens on my Clone Trooper helmet. So you can order this in different thicknesses on eBay. So for lots of small details, I'm actually going to use this because it's easy to cut out and it's quite thin. But for building up some of the bigger details, I'm just going to use the ABS because it's a little bit thicker. So as I said, I know this gun isn't going to be perfect. So I'm just going to sort of do my own thing and try and work out a little bit more of a shape to go down and sort of match what we've already got on the gun. And I've also got to fill in a trigger guard and a brand new trigger as well. Alright, so that's the inside of the two halves of the gun. At the moment, just used a heat gun to heat up the ABS and bend it over certain parts, so things like the old trigger gap would be covered and just that bit around the back needed a bit of flexing. So as you can see, it's not neat, but that's okay. We're just using it there as a support so we can put filler in it. And I've just put some hot glue down in the gap here because there is a small gap between this bit and the actual side panel of the blaster. So once I make sure that's definitely all dry, I can actually go ahead and glue this lot back together and then start adding on the rest of the detail pieces. It should be dry now. I've just taped it together to make sure the bits are all stuck properly. And what am I going to do with this? I'm just going to go over it with a Dremel, make sure all these bits are nice and neatly lined up, and if need be we can go over the seams. So what I'm doing now is I'm adding lots of little detail pieces on with my thin polypropylene plastic. See, this stuff is just 1 mil thick, so it's easy to cut and it's just easy for the smaller details. So I might just add a little extra piece that goes on either side of this. I want to add a little bit more detail on the actual grip here. I'm thinking maybe of either cutting this bottom bit off or actually filling it in so the handle is longer. I'm not entirely sure what I want to do with that yet. And obviously filling in the extra bits, like we still need the trigger guard, stuff like that. Again, like I said, it's not going to be perfect. It's just going to be a nice little representation that if you know what it is, you'll probably guess what you're looking at. So this is the base of the gun. All the milliput has been added and sanded down. So it's probably still going to be a little bit of filler work, especially on like the chunky bit of milliput that's in the bottom, just to even some stuff out. So to see what we're going to do with that, I'm just going to give it a quick spray over with some primer. So this is the base colour of the gun. went over it with black, then did a really light spray of a grey colour, then very lightly sprayed over black again, so it's a little bit lighter than the flat black, just gives it a nice little sheen to it. And also sprayed the back piece separately, which one part of it is actually silver, so obviously just take that bit off. And that bit is then ready for weathering a little bit later. But there are a couple more details to do on this in silver first. So there is going to be two main details that I'm actually going to tape off and do in just a spray silver. So that's going to be the top bit here, and there's also like a little detail that runs along the bottom part here. Of course, because this is not accurate to the actual blaster pistol, it's just got to change it up a little bit depending on what we've got. So I'll probably use that little raised edge bit here and maybe do these indents in silver, or I might keep them in black, I'm not sure, because this one just has sort of like little hints of silver. Got a little bit of silver to do on the handle, and I'm actually going to do some on these raised bits here. Now this bit will be a real pain in the butt to mask, because you can see how thin those little indented gaps in there, so I'm actually going to dry brush the silver on this part. So you'll actually get a lot more of the raised bit than you will do the indented bit, but then obviously you'll just quickly tape up this area here so when you dry brushing you don't catch it, because otherwise that would just ruin it for the weathering stages, which are probably... this one I'm not sure if I'm going to dry brush or do sort of the same method I did for my main Republic Commando blaster, just by using the scratch one. But I'll come to that when I've done the full basic details of the actual paint job. Alright, so just quickly taped up that front end to dry brush this bit on. So basically, just a dry brush spray paint, for anybody who doesn't know. Take a bit of your spray paint, spray it onto what I normally use, kitchen towel, and then you just go over the areas that you want to cover in that particular colour, so it gets the raised areas and it won't get the lower areas, so you can use it for aging effects. Obviously, dry brushing, you can normally do it with a paint and a brush. But if you just got spray paint, this is a way to do it, and also that's a way you can get a solid colour on there as well, and save trying to mask up all the really tiny little gaps and trying to spray it. It's the easier way to do it. You just spray a little bit on there, and we just go over here. Alright, so I just wanted to dull down the silver just a little bit, so I've just lightly gone back over it with a bit of black spray paint, just to blend it a little bit more with the black. Now, I might just do a couple little hand-done details on some of these raised parts. Just do it on some of the edges, like maybe like a little bit of gold, a little bit of red. Because again, this isn't going to be exact to the blaster that we are working on. But just make it look a little bit more alive. So I'm going to see what paints I've got and work on doing a little bit of just extra hand detailing. So that's the finished paint job of the gun. Not the best thing in the world, but it looks the part still. So now the last bit we got to do is attach this little back piece to the gun, and we're very simply gonna super glue it in place. And I've just gone and sprayed the screws. We're going to use silver. And we're just going to sit there and hold it for a bit until the glue sets. So we are now well on our way on getting on with the Republic Commando costume. We've got our main accessory finished, and the one I wanted to do for years that was just in pieces in my cupboard. And as always, I'd like to thank my Patreon supporters, especially Jeff Kenny and Mortarian, who have donated to have their names shouted out on my channel. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, and as always, may the Force be with you.